Just
Welcome. Would you like to introduce your name, course, and your year?
so my name is Titus. I'm in year 3 and I study games design at Bournemouth University.
So Titus has been on the YouTube not recently, before, a games design interview with his friend. Today, he is giving us, you tell the students what you're telling us. What are we going to talk about today?
What I'll be trying to discuss today is just the general aspects of trends, and as uni students, we are now at a precarious stage in life where we are now going to be reflecting society. So a lot of society's trends and a lot of society's news is going to now start channeling through us. We have to start being more aware of what we post on our social media sites. We have to start being more aware of being more professional, and also understanding different backgrounds around us, because we are living in very, very troubled times at the current moment in time, with a lot of division and a lot of political parties and a lot of racial and ethnic groups as well, just on and so forth. So I'm just here to give you a scope from a minority himself, who's also, like we said before, I was on the YouTube channel. So and then I was talking actually about doing a creative course and what it was like being an ethnic minority doing that type of course. But I thought would delve a bit deeper into what really makes me as a uni student as a whole, and the way I or me and my friends as well have started to be more mindful of what we post and how we present ourselves, and also challenging those around us that are still not as informed or as in tune to other people's struggle, essentially. Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Titus. When we talk about trends, what do you think one of the worst trends happening are in these times right now? So today we're in September, we'll just say September 2020. What do you think the worst trend you've seen so far that is doing more harm than good?
Do you know, that is a very good question, and it's very hard to specify what type of trends, because the definition of a trend obviously is things that happen on social media, and they have a start time and they have a finish. It's very quick, it's very viral, it's very poignant, but once something is trending or something is viral, it sticks. A lot of people still, quote vines from 2014.
Yeah.
But here we are in 2020. They've kind of built up the bread and butter for a lot of social media apps. You see TikTok based off Vine's marketing strategy, and they make it work. So I would say the worst trends I have seen so far are the ones where, and this is just as a broad term general, when you as a person are jumping into a certain topic. It could be entertainment, it could be politics, it could be anything that is viral, but you're not as informed or as careful with what you're going to post, and you just do it for the sake of everyone is talking about said trend. I want to, be a part of the attention too. The key word here is attention. Like that's what a trend is too. It's also gathering attention to yourself.
Don't you think trends are good for certain things?
Trends can be very positive, actually. As a matter of fact, we saw John Krasinski. If a lot of people have watched The Office US, he started to make a YouTube channel called was it Just Some Good News, and for a while, I'd say a good 2-3 weeks. This was during the start of lockdown, so a lot of people were seeing him, posting all the good things in the world and stuff. And he was trending on Twitter. Like, a lot of people saw the traction. They started sharing his videos. We started seeing, people getting married during lockdown, long-lost families reuniting, and so on and so forth. I do believe that social media can be used as a good force, but there's always a yin and a yang to everything that you do. You have to understand that, so much as there is a good force behind such a thing, there is also I can't even speak the word properly.
Responsibility?
Yeah, no, not responsibility. Irreprehensible damage. There we go. Behind said trends, should they take effect. Like For example, I think the best example I can think of was a lot of people love Meg Thee Stallion. She's an up and coming artist.
Megan Thee Stallion.
Yeah, Meg Thee Stallion. You know
She's a
the
rapper,
names.
I think.
I'm sure a lot of people do know her, but if they don't, she's quite a new face in the hip hop industry for a lot of Black women in America. And we remember Tory Lanez as well, another established music artist. At the start of lockdown, we remember the quarantine shows that he did and everything. And they were, again, that was a trend. And some may argue, it was a very tasteless trend. It was very objectifying, so on and so forth. But in terms of, the entertainment that Tory Lanez had brought, it was quite a wide-reaching and very, very eye-opening trend that everyone was going hop on. Every time Tory Lanez did a quarantine show, a lot of people would be on there. Personally, me, I didn't really focus on that too much because I was too busy worrying about my degree than, getting entertained about what's going on. But I was looking fairly recently when Meg Thee Stallion got shot in the foot, if you recall.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
A lot of her fans were wondering, oh my goodness me, who was it that shot Meg Thee Stallion? A lot of people were in uproar. Did she this that? And everyone suspected Tory Lanez. Obviously, Meg Thee Stallion hadn't said anything, maybe due to legal issues. But once she had finally come forward and actually,
addressed it,
addressed her accuser, a lot of people started now
going back on her, saying you're lying.
Coming back onto Meg Thee Stallion. And now it became quite a viral thing in a sense that, Meg Thee Stallion was just saying this, that, and she was just targeting Tory Lanez, and it became a trend per se. And a lot of people got involved in it. They just started to discredit her words, and I would say that would have such a negative impact on her. We don't know Meg Thee Stallion personally, but it's the negativity will only breed negativity. And
so, what attention do you get from doing that? Do you think? Because you said attention is the most important thing. If hating on Meg Thee Stallion is a thing, how does that bring attention to that person, or is it more of feeling part of a community?
It's more of I think it's a mix of both things. Because now when we look at trends as well, we also have to look at the internet and what the internet in a social media perspective looks like. It's not very easy to police a lot of things on the internet, obviously, and you can say what you normally don't say to someone in real life, and you can get away with it. That's the beauty of the internet. You have privacy and anonymity to be able to speak your mind. It could be good or bad, but no one can really hold you in reprimand or
but then
account.
That they can. There's certain things. Obviously, if you start going on the internet and start doing racial slurs, terrorist things, they will come for you.
So they will come for you. But, it's also about defining what can be seen as racial hate or racial slur, because it becomes very broad on the internet. Again, one person's opinion could really just be seen as a very hateful thing, this, that. Looking at Katie Hopkins, for example. But then, if it's something such as when Wiley was talking about anti-Semitism and so on and so forth, that's very easily targetable, because we already know that, we should, and you shouldn't be going against the Jewish community, obviously, because it's established that, there was a point in time that there was hate here. We don't need to make this a trend. But with certain issues that are already oppressed and not addressed enough, we don't really have enough people pointing it out that, what this person is saying could actually be affecting other people who see this as well. Because the other thing about the internet is everyone can see it. Once it's there, it's there.
Let me ask you this, Titus.
Yeah.
On a recent podcast, I was speaking to one of my friends about BLM. I said, without trends and people jumping on the trend of BLM, we would not have the change that we have today. And he said it wasn't about the trend, it was about the people that are behind the trends. The actual people who are for the cause. I said the trend is more important than the cause, because you can have a cause with no attention, but the trend brings the attention. What would you say is more important to create change? A trend or a cause? So the meaningful, the people that are mean, that are going to stay there again and get arrested. Do you think it's the attention they get, or the fact that do you think the same change, let me rehash my question, sorry. Do you
Yes,
think
sorry.
the same change, so if you had 1,000 people, 900 of them didn't care, but 100 did, versus just 100 people, what do you think would create more change?
I would say it's what the 100 people can do to inform the other 900, because that is exactly what Black Lives Matter is.
But what is the trend? What if they're only on it for the trend? Because you've seen people posting black pictures, blacked out pictures, taking pictures around. So if they're just there for the trend and they're going to leave once it dies down, do you think it's best that they're there to get the attention, or the fact that the message will get maybe disrupted and not put across how they want to put across, that we just stick to the 100 people?
No, that's a very good question. I would say that with a trend, like I said before in the beginning, a trend is very short. This could be 2 to 3 weeks. It's very sharp, it's very concentrated, and it's driven heavily by other people's attention. For the Black Lives Matter movement, for example, to really start getting traction, it's good to use a trend to reach more people, but it is also about giving information in that time to allow people to really research, because unfortunately for a lot of organizations like the Black Lives Matter movement, Amnesty International, when we see like other issues like Uyghur Muslims or climate change, we know about problems in the world, but we don't actively come forward on ourselves to inform our own issues. We don't really, look at the history behind Black Lives Matter, why it's such a thing, why we're seeing the March to Washington happen literally 3 weeks ago. And this was something that happened in 1964, 1965, when Martin Luther King was still alive. And we're wondering, like, wow, why is this now such a
now a thing?
Why is it such a now thing?
Because obviously
we need to be more
dying in America has been happening for years.
It needs to be more than a trend. It needs to be really solidified into people's minds that this is an issue that it won't go away. A trend is temporary.
So that's what I mean. So do you think, obviously Black people have been dying for years in America?
Yes.
Do you think without the trend, it would still we would still be in the situation where we are now? Do you think that trend helped to elevate it to where it is now, that there's some change?
I would say that due to the trend, it did help broaden on a global scale the reach. But what we're seeing now is a lot of people really only wanted to be on the trend temporarily of, a major celebrity has posted a black square. But do you understand the meaning behind that black square? Do you understand why you're posting? So it's not more about just doing the trend. It's actually understanding why you're doing the trend. The why is also quite an important component to such a viral thing. Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Let's look at what's happening right now in China. Why do you think Black Lives Matter is trending and obviously the Muslim concentration camps in China aren't trending?
Well, I would also say this as well. Personally, for me, I've known about the Uyghur Muslim internment since 2017. China is one of those iffy states, I'd like to say, in the world. It's a growing superpower. Economically, it's doing well, and a lot of countries use China's labor to produce a lot of their
products. It's always made in China.
Products, and so forth. I mean, probably look right now. A lot of people will look through their houses. Majority of things are going to be made in China.
Yeah,
and the majority of things are going to be
unless it's premium products.
Yes. So if we look from the perspective of if you are a growing superpower who controls a lot of the world's manufacturing, and now you want companies to
stop using
your products, you have to be sensible, and it's all about really and truly is the control at the top here and how it's funneled at the bottom. So you as an individual yourself need to really, like I said, look at the whys. Why are people talking about this? Why is the media not giving this topic enough information? Why does this not get enough attention? But I'm hearing about, the next coronavirus cases happening, but here there's like 2-3 million people who are getting interned. castrated,
So,
so on and so forth.
Titus,
Yeah.
if it became a trend, do you think there would be change?
If it became a trend, I would think there would be awareness, but until people really start researching and actively looking upon the trend, the problem is, like I said, is the why in the trend. People will do the trend and they will know the how and the where and the who and the what, but they won't know why it's trending at that point in time. And when we don't know why, we tend to go into a state of bliss, because the popular saying, ignorance is bliss. We always hear about everything that's going on wrong in the world, and we move on to the next worst case scenario. We heard about how bad COVID was. We heard about how bad the climate change was. We literally saw Australia go up in flames at the start of January, and then now we're back. We don't even really know much about Australia. Have they recovered?
Why do you think that it happens like that? Why do you think we would one day we hear about? Do you think it's just because of a trend? So you're saying the
I
only
think
way
it's
to
because
really
of the cycle of a trend as well. Because, like I said again, trends are very quick. Once you have got someone's attention, you need to keep it onto a next big. You need to. It's kind of like a snowball effect. Once you start off small, you just keep adding on more and more and more flakes until you have a big mass, and it just keeps spiraling to the next big thing.
So why do you think?
You don't usually go back to the trace of the trend? You just move on to the next thing because you want people's attention, but you don't want them to actively do something about the said trend. Yeah.
So why do you think BLM lasted so long as a trend? Because obviously BLM was through the whole of Korea. Well, for a good couple of months, as you said, a trend is normally maybe 1 or 2 weeks. BLM is still happening till today. Yes. Why do you think, in your opinion, that the China is being put to the side, the Australia is being put to the side? We're hearing more about Corona and BLM, and obviously seen a lot of BLM like shows. People are changing their logo. Why do you think BLM, the Black Lives Matter movement, is getting so much traction, even though the trend, obviously people aren't posting black out pictures as much. People aren't really reposting things as much. But why do you think it's still relevant after how many months than Australia and China?
I would say for the Black Lives Matter, why it's such a popular trend and why it's done so well in this point in time is it is mainly due to the pain a lot of ethnic minorities have felt in America and around the world. You have to remember that oppression in these countries, such as America, it could also be in the UK and a lot of other first world and third world countries, that a lot of people knew about this before the trend was a thing, and to see such acts of police brutality go trending. And the problem was with a lot of the deaths surrounding the Black Lives Matter movement now, they weren't publicized on the news. You didn't really hear about a few of these people's getting shot, the whole big thing.
Because of the trend of BLM, it got publicized.
It got publicized. I actually think because a lot more people were finding out about this through Twitter. I actually found out more about Breonna Taylor's death on Twitter and on online news than I would have on BBC, on CNN. It's only after 3 weeks, maybe 3 or 2 weeks, the news really started to pick up. A woman in Kentucky has been killed, and that's it. No, there wasn't really much detail. You didn't hear about how it happened, what time it happened, who it involved, and whatnot.
Why do you think it took them that long and so short?
I would personally say it is because Black people have always been prejudiced in America, that they haven't really been given the best attention they can through media, and the driving force behind such crimes. So when you hear about a policeman killing a Black person, usually the normal thing would be, it must have been a serious crime. Because of the way we associate Black people and crime, we always tend to think, it's just a normal day-to-day thing. But sometimes it's just a lot of exactly, just being gotten away with. That's why I think, especially with these trends, they didn't get much traction on the news mainstream, because they wouldn't think that these stories would actually gain much attention. But through social media and through people spreading the message, it managed to come across to the UK, Germany, Australia, Thailand, a lot of countries heard about this, and it mobilized the movement because they were able to now use that point in time, the trend, to start giving more information. What made the Black Lives Matter work this time around, I would say, was because people heard about the trend. They started informing themselves. Now they really started to look at why the police are getting away with such atrocities, when it happened, where it happened, so on and so forth. Yeah. Was I?
That's all right. Let me ask you this, Titus. Right.
Mm.
So, if we talk about, again, the Black Lives Matter, and you said America, and obviously the Black people historically being connected to crime, would you say the UK is innocent, or would you say they're as guilty? Because obviously this movement was very heavy in America.
It was very heavy in America.
And in the UK,
but we cannot also dismiss how heavy it was in the UK, because we see a lot of people may talk about, oh, we don't get shot as much in America, blah, blah, this, because we don't have guns, so on and so forth. But there have been recorded statistics of Black people in London getting stopped more by the police than any other minority. There have been cases even in the north where more people have been stopped by police when they're doing routine checks because of certain first line issues they have. I would say in the UK, it's not as prevalent. Like America's is quite overt. It's a very free nation. Everyone will say what they want to say, especially during the Trump administration. We've seen a lot of people being emboldened to speak what they think. Like I said, people are more likely to say what they want to say if they see someone on the top stool of the United States government saying things about Mexicans, saying things about women, saying things about Black people, saying things about.
But they feel like
political leaders. But compared to the UK, where I'd say it's a bit more subtle and sustained, you don't really need to experience overt racism because it's through microaggressions. It's through the structural classes that we have here. You know, a lot of people would say, for example, I'll give you a microaggression that you don't usually see around, but maybe someone can come up to you and they will say, oh, for a Black person, you're very well spoken. Or, I didn't expect you to be doing a higher education degree at this point. It's always the subtle nuances. So
would you say in the America, they would say, you're not meant to talk that well because you are Black. And in the UK, they say, oh, you talk well for a Black person. So it's the way they say it and how blatant they are with it. In America, They might say it straight up to your face because, as you said, someone in power is saying these things. So they feel like they can say it too.
But here, people don't like to be told that they're racist. When you are confronted as being a racist, you just go into denial about. Oh, pardon me. You go into denial about it, and it's like, no, I've never been because I've never got involved. But because you've never got involved, you never informed yourself. Do you see the cycle that kind of falls through here? Because you are not doing anything, you are essentially leaving yourself vulnerable to be more susceptible to the racism. And you may not realize it, but you do. Essentially, yes.
Have you ever felt yourself in the UK? Have you ever been in a situation where you felt like this was a racial abuse or?
Countless times, but like I've said it before, I've never personally had an overt attack towards me. It's always been through the subtle nuances such as microaggressions. It's always been through school. It could have been simple things like, I should have, because English isn't my first language, they didn't expect me to do as well, so on and so forth in my GCSEs. Or it could have been simply just walking down the street. I could be wearing the same plain clothes. My mate to my left is going to wearing, black jeans, white t-shirt, same Air Forces, you know what I mean? But you will just, for some reason, you can feel someone next to you just start to clutch their handbag a bit tighter. And it's all those small things just adding up to just a big bowl of, oh my gosh, like I've really, it's there, it's prevalent and so on.
Let me ask you these last two questions.
Yes.
You can answer them if you'd like to. It's optional.
Yeah.
Do you think being racist is a trend?
I would think that it can be, as like I said before, because of how we're able to say anything we want on the internet and we can supposedly get away with it, a lot of people are more likely to speak their mind, and it can be a racist opinion, and they may get called out for it, but they will have the opportunity to speak what they want to say because they feel emboldened, and they aren't going to be held accountable. There's no accountability about what you say online at the moment. There's not enough accountability, actually. I'd like to say there is accountability, but it's not done on a more rigorous scale. Yeah.
And lastly, do you think all white people are racist?
No. Personally, I don't think that. I actually would say I'm the best example of having a diverse group of friends. I have talked to many white people across the country. I have many white friends here. Even growing up in school, I was in a Catholic school. So, I did have a wide variety of white friends. And to be honest with you, they grew up to understand me. And they grew up to understand my struggle more than anyone around them would. It's really, if I would have a message to anyone out there who is white and who is friends with a lot of ethnic minority groups, or the same with black, Asian, ethnic minority groups who have white friends, is don't be afraid to tell them your story. Don't be afraid to also just point out to them if they are doing something that you would consider is racist or so on and so forth. And just, help each other learn from your own struggles, and also to be more informed about what you do when you post online. Be ready. Understand that once you have posted something, you cannot take it back. So before you make an important decision on saying what you want to say, you may want to do it in the heat of the moment, but think about how that affects you. Because again, as I said, as uni students, we need to really start thinking professionally about what our feeds look like. It's good to be political, it's good to be daring, but we need to look at how we are presenting ourselves online, because the other issue is I can interpret what we're saying as a good driving force of life, but someone else can see it as hate. There's a lot of ambiguity online, and we just need to be able to...
The spectrum's a bit weary.
The spectrum's a bit weird, but when you give yourself enough information, I'm not saying you will always have the information, but when you are more informed, you will most likely not post something that will come for ridicule, or most better, you just don't say anything at all. If you have nothing nice to say, you don't say anything at all. That's what we should also train to do.
Just to add on to that point, it's a very good, valid point, because you see these days, celebrities, they'll get tweets from 7 years ago, and something they posted 7 years ago is ruining their life in 2020. Cancel culture, because they said something. And the problem with that is we have to be careful what you post, because obviously certain words then were fine to say, but now aren't fine to say. So again, be careful exactly what you're putting online, because you never know. You could be about to make the deal of your life, and when they search by you, something you tweeted 10 years ago, you might have been 13, you're cancelled.
And of course you are young, but it's such a risky game to play. You really do have to be careful about what you say and what you think online. And especially as an ethnic minority, you are already at a disadvantage. You need to be presenting yourself to a higher standard than most, which is a shame, unfortunately. But it's one of the ways we move forward, and we start to really change society. We need to understand that the game was not always meant for everyone, but it's about understanding the game and really working with the rules and trying to make a good choice. Because once you learn something and you start to inform yourself a bit more, you will learn the strengths and weaknesses behind said thing, and you will try to find better solutions towards getting a better change. And change won't happen with comfortability. A lot of people will be uncomfortable with change, but it's only when you start being uncomfortable, we start to really get out of the rut we're in. We need to get out of this rut we're in and go in a better, more positive social media culture. Okay. Where trends can be used in a more positive light, and I do believe they can be viral and be good.
Thank you, Titos. So
don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'm plugged in.
Amazing. Thank you.